Pioneering was all about being self-sufficient, creative, and making the most of what was available. While most of us aspired to be self-reliant, few could match the resourcefulness and resilience of the pioneers who survived out of sheer necessity. There's much we can learn from their ingenuity and in their way to adapt to challenges. Early pioneers likely had limited cooking utensils, often using cast iron skillets that added significant weight to their already burdened wagons. When faced with difficult terrain, they often had to unload non-essential items, including cooking equipment. Consequently, women had to improvise ways to cook without traditional vessels or ovens. This is where the ash cake likely originated, a clever solution to still enjoy a form of cake under challenging circumstances. Ash cake was essentially a type of pioneer bread made from cornmeal, a bit of water, and a pinch of salt, formed into patties and cooked on hot ashes from an open campfire. The ashes would adhere to and cook the dough, resulting in a hearty bread. As pioneers settled in constructed cabins, they might have also cooked their batter in open hearths. Few would have had the luxury of cast iron ovens until later in history, and if available, berries, dried fruit, molasses, or honey might have been added for flavor. It's conceivable that cowboys on frontier cattle drives also made similar bread to accompany their staple beans and rice. Similarly, Native American tribes that cultivated corn likely had this variation of ash cake bread. Much of this culinary history has faded into obscurity, but it's clear that many recipes and methods were born out of necessity using all available ingredients. Here's a quick recipe to make an ash cake. 1 cup stone ground cornmeal, that can be white or yellow, a pinch of salt, and half a cup of water, or enough to make the thick dough-like batter. Directions are to mix all the ingredients to form a thick dough, shape the dough into patties, and place the patties onto hot ashes, turning if necessary, or until they're cooked through. The next on our list is something called the Carnivore Bear. Now, this has a name that's well known to Native Americans and cowboys alike, but the Carnivore Bear has a rich history rooted in the evolution of a traditional food known as pemmican. Both traditional and modern animal-based eaters have benefited from the nutrient-dense, travel-friendly food thanks to its unique recipe. So, to understand its significance in history and its relevance today, let's explore the origins of pemmican, the original North American survival food. So what is it? Pemmican is a traditional Native American food made from tallow, like from bison or wild game, dried meat, and sometimes wild berries. It was a staple food during nomadic travel, commonly used by Native American tribes across the United States and Canada while following the bison herds. Pemmican originated from the plains of the Americas, where Native Americans coexisted with those bison herds, and although bison served as the primary source of meat for making pemmican, it was a vital food for survival during the nomadic journeys. The word pemmican derives from the Cree word pemmican, so it's spelled different, but it's kind of the same, meaning manufactured grease. Native American tribes relied heavily on bison, especially during harsh winters, and pemmican was a convenient and nutritious way to preserve meat for extended periods. This high-calorie, nutrient-dense food sustained nomadic tribes during their travels. Pemmican played a crucial role in the fur trade era, facilitating explorations and trade across North America. Pioneers and fur traders, including Peter Pond and Sir Alexander Mackenzie, recognized this value during their expeditions. In the 1920s, Arctic explorers observed the health benefits of the Inuit diet, so what we sometimes refer to them as Eskimos, Alaska's native population, the Inuits, and they included pemmican as well. And these explorers advocated for pemmican as a high-energy, nutrient-dense food, although it wasn't adopted by the military due to other influences. Pemmican typically consists of lean, dried bison meat with bison fat and added salt and berries depending on availability and preference. The meat was dried and pulverized while the fat was rendered into tallow. These ingredients were mixed and packed into bison hide bags, preserving the food for long periods of time. The benefits of pemmican include the ability to preserve nutrition, making it suitable for long-term storage, its convenience as a travel food, and its simplicity as a 2-ingredient recipe, providing complete nutrition. So just a quick recipe for pemmican. It's still made today. You can buy it. I think you can buy it on Amazon. The ingredients for something, just a basic recipe for pemmican, is 4 cups lean dried meat. So deer, beef, caribou, or moose, or bison. 3 cups dried fruit, 2 cups rendered fat, and unsalted nuts, and about 1 shot of honey. So the instructions are the meat should be as lean as possible and double ground from your butcher if you don't have your own meat grinder. Spread it very thin on a cookie sheet and dry at 180 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 8 hours or until sinewy and crisp. Pound the meat into a nearly powdered consistency using a blender or other tools. Grind the dried fruit, but leave a little bit of lump for fun and texture. Heat rendered fat on stove at medium until liquid, and add liquid fat to dried meat and dried fruit. Mix in the nuts and honey, mix everything by hand, let it cool and store, and that can be consumed and kept for several years according to the recipe. Now we move into the heart of the rugged West, where the land stretches wide and the spirits of adventure run deep. There exists a dish that speaks of frontier boldness and resilience, and we give it a little flavor text because we're talking about Rocky Mountain oysters. Born from the necessity of ranching life, where every part of the animal was honored and utilized, Rocky Mountain oysters emerged as a testament to the resourcefulness of the Western pioneers. These pioneers, carving a life out of the untamed frontier, knew the value of making do with what they had. In the homestead kitchens and bustling campfires, bull testicles transformed into a savory delicacy. Skinned, coated in flour, pepper and salt, and then crisped to perfection in bubbling oil, these oysters became a staple of cowboy cuisine. But it wasn't just on the ranches that Rocky Mountain oysters found their place. Across the wide plains and dusty trails from the rolling hills of Canada to the sun-drenched lands of Texas and Oklahoma, these culinary treasures made their mark. In the bustling towns and rowdy saloons of the Wild West, Rocky Mountain oysters became a symbol of frontier grit and camaraderie. Festivals sprung up celebrating the rugged spirit of the West, with feasts centered around this unique dish. From Eagle, Idaho, boasting the world's largest Rocky Mountain oyster feed, to small towns like Clinton, Montana, and Severance, Colorado, where testicle festivals, it's kind of weird to say and kind of makes me laugh, testicle festivals become beloved traditions. Rocky Mountain oysters brought people together in celebration of Western heritage. Yet, beyond the laughter and camaraderie, Rocky Mountain oysters held a deeper significance. They spoke of a time when survival depended on ingenuity and adaptability, when the spirit of the West was forged in fires of hardship and adventure. Today, as the sun sets over the wide open plains and the legacy of the frontier lives on, Rocky Mountain oysters continue to be enjoyed. Whether served in a rustic ranch kitchen and amid the cheers of a bustling festival, these culinary delights carry within the spirit of the West. A spirit as bold as the land itself, and probably as bold as eating Rocky Mountain oysters. So if you have any interest in eating them, I haven't, but I had found a quick recipe for it. The ingredients to make some Rocky Mountain oysters is 2 pounds of calf testicles, not bull testicles, even though I said that earlier. Now they cook them with calf testicles because they're more tender. 2 cups of beer, 2 eggs beaten, 1.5 cups of AP flour, a 1/4 cup of yellow cornmeal, salt and pepper to taste, a tablespoon of hot sauce, and some vegetable oil. Speaking of resourcefulness and using what you have, that brings us to our first dessert on this list. Something that I've never heard of, even though I'm from the South, and it's something called vinegar pie. Now, folks nowadays might raise an eyebrow at such of a thought of this kind of pie, but our pioneer ancestors held it dear to their hearts. They knew how to make do with what they had, and when lemons, limes, and other citrus fruits were a rare luxury, they turned to apple cider vinegar to give their pies that tangy kick. You see, back in those days, a lemon or an orange was a treasure, like beyond compare. The scarcity of such fruits meant that pioneer women had to get creative in the kitchen. And so, the first vinegar pie recipes were born, substituting the sharpness of citrus with the acidity of vinegar. In logging and mining camps scattered across the rugged terrain, where meals were hearty and desserts were a rare delight, vinegar pie became a staple on the cook shack tables. The loggers and miners savored its sweet and tart flavors, especially when topped with a cloud of delicate meringue. Apple cider vinegar was more than just a cooking ingredient. It was a versatile staple in pioneer households. From cleaning wounds to flavoring recipes, it found its way into countless aspects of daily life, including the beloved vinegar pie. Now, making a vinegar pie the pioneer way was no small feat. Every step was a labor of love, from crafting the crust by hand to patiently waiting as it baked to perfection. But the satisfaction of slicing into that golden pie, knowing it was a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of the pioneers. Of course, in today's hustle and bustle, not everyone has the time to channel their inner pioneer in the kitchen. But fear not, for there are a few shortcuts that you can make. Whether you opt for a store-bought crust or whip one up with the help of modern appliances, the essence of vinegar pie remains unchanged, a tribute, again like all these, to the spirit of the Old West. So, if you're feeling adventurous and want to taste a slice of history, give this vinegar pie recipe a try. Whether you take the easy route or embrace the pioneer way, one thing's for sure, the journey, which this will be a journey, to the first delectable bite will be worth it. The ingredients for a vinegar pie is a 1/4 cup of sifted AP flour, 1 cup of white sugar, 1 cup of water, 3 egg yolks, an 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of butter at room temp, 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and then you would preheat the oven to 325, mix the flour, and I'll put the full recipe up on the screen so you can see if you want to try it yourself. Our last dish on the list, I made this one the last, not necessarily the first, but just the one we were going to end with. I made this because of the name. So we're all familiar with cowboy beans, cowboy stews, and just a pot of something being cooked out on the range. You know, that's what we think about when we read the stories and see the movies. This one's unique though. So, out on the rugged frontier, where cowboys roam the vast expanse of the open range, there's one dish that reigns supreme. That is son of a bitch stew. Legend has it that this hearty concoction was a favorite among cowboys, crafted from the finest cuts of a freshly slaughtered calf. Now, don't let the name fool you. When polite company was present, it was referred to as son of a gun stew. But when the coast was clear, its true moniker was proudly proclaimed. When a calf met its fate, every part of the animal was put to good use. The tongue, liver, heart, kidneys, sweetbreads, and brain were carefully collected and delivered to the cook, who knew exactly what to do. Armed with a trusty butcher knife, the cook chopped the ingredients into small pieces and let them simmer into an iron kettle. But here's the beauty of son of a bitch stew. There was no hard or fast rule. Every cook had their own recipe, tossing in potatoes, tomatoes, or whatever else happened to be on hand. The only rule is if you could identify all the ingredients, it wasn't a true cowboy stew. Alan Davidson's book, The Oxford Companion to Food, delves into the origins of this legendary dish. It's said that the key to this unforgettable taste lies in the peculiar ingredients known as the marrow gut, yum yum, and this tube-like organ found between two of the calf's stomachs was filled with a substance akin to like bone marrow, imparting a unique flavor to the stew. Now, cooking son of a bitch stew wasn't for the faint of heart. Some recipes call for simmering a medley of calf's head, liver, spine marrow, kidneys, sweetbread, tongue, and brains in a hearty broth, seasoned with wine and spices. The concoction would bubble away for hours, filling the air with an irresistible aroma. But despite its humble origins and colorful name, son of a bitch stew was more than just a meal. It's a piece of our history. From chuck wagon cooks to ranch hands, it warmed the bellies and lifted spirits of those who roamed the vast expanse of the American West. As the saying went, you throw everything in the pot but the hair, horns, and holler. and the longer it simmered over the fire, the better it became, transforming into a savory masterpiece that warmed the bellies and lifted the spirits. So, next time you hear tales of the Old West, remember the humble son of a bitch stew, a dish that embodied the true spirit of the frontier, and again, where the resourcefulness and ingenuity reigned supreme.